Hello friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, doing a technique. I don't know what you'd want to call it. I've done videos similar to this where I take a very huge stamp and make more than one card with the stamped image. So this stamp is from Simon's new beautiful Bouquet stamp set. This stamp is huge. The piece of cardstock I'm stamping it onto is 5.5 by 8.5 inches. So yeah, huge stamp, and if you've been watching any of my videos, you know, large florals, sold, have to have them. And this one's definitely no exception, like, it's gorgeous. So I thought for the first video I did using this, I would keep things simple, and also because I was in a black, white, and gold mood, because I haven't done one in a little bit, but I know floral images, large images, things like this are very intimidating for people. I get it. Even when I was looking at it, I was just like, man, this is going to take a while to color. Also, look up Debbie Hughes. Like, she has the blog Lime Doodle Design. I talk about her a lot in my videos. She watercolored this, of course, with her fabulous, like, no-line coloring. She didn't even turn it into a card. It was just like a little art piece. It's gorgeous. Gorgeous. So, anywho. I stamped it with Nocturne VersaFine Clair ink onto Simon's 120-pound cardstock. And then I used my Zig Gold Mica liquid to splatter it, which I've been showing in the last couple of videos because I got it in a recent order and I'm kind of obsessed with it. And you can't go wrong with gold splatter. So after I splattered it, set it aside, and then I pulled out my memory MISTI. This is huge. I've shown this in previous videos. I don't use it very often because this thing's a monster. It'll fit a 12 by 12 piece of paper. You don't need to own one of these, but I'm glad I have one because it makes things like this just easier. To get around that, if you don't have this, but you have a normal size MISTI, that's what I showed. That's what I was using originally. And I just showed it in size comparison. Is you could fold these card bases inside out and then line them up in the regular size MISTI. That totally works. I was going to do that, and then I was like, wait a minute. I have space now for my memory MISTI. So that's why I'm using that. But there's workarounds. So I've got my card bases lined up inside it and the large stamp that I had cleaned off mostly. I didn't clean it off perfectly, as always, but I'm not too worried about it. And then I inked it up with Simon's Fog ink. So just a really nice light gray, just to give the insides of the cards a little extra something. So stamp both of those at the same time as well. And then by this point, the splatter is completely dry on these card fronts, and I decided to trim these down, and I was honestly just kind of winging it. I had a rough idea in my head of what I was going to do with these card fronts, like how I was going to make these into cards, but I just started trimming. And then I was like, okay, no, I like this because I had other ideas. So I have my card bases. I've got my card fronts. I'm going to reinforce the score line in the fold on these card bases, so I just use the edge of my little SCOR-BUDDY and my Teflon bone folder. And then I pulled out my oldie but goodie favorite black and white stripe pattern paper. I've used this in tons of videos, and I've mentioned this as well. Like, I keep every little scrap, like even that narrow little scrap there on the lower right corner. I had that, and it was the perfect size. I don't keep every little scrap of everything, but with this paper, it always comes in handy. So I literally keep every little scrap. So I trimmed down a second scrap the same, width and length because it was just perfect. And then I wanted to add some gold glitter paper. So any gold glitter paper is going to work. I haven't even bothered putting away this little Tonic pack that I have. And I didn't realize they had other colors, so I just ordered the blue pack and the green pack. There's a red pack as well, but I think it was sold out. So, love. Anyway, trim down a couple of strips of that as well, just to the same length as what the card front will be, and then like roughly 1/4 inch. I wasn't too worried about the size because I'm just going to layer this all, properly on the card front when it comes time to assembling everything. And then I pulled out a scrap of black cardstock, and I'm using Simon's new So Much Love stamp set. Love these sentiments. I love that there's a couple different fonts to choose from for the main one. So I'm using this main sentiment here, and I'm going to use my anti-static powder tool on the black cardstock to keep the embossing powder from clinging to anything other than the stamped sentiment. then ink up that sentiment with Simon's clear embossing ink. And then I can flip this around and do this a second time. So once I've got those stamped, I'm going to coat them with gold embossing powder. And then once these are coated with the embossing powder, tap off the excess and then melt it with my heat tool, which is always my favorite part. I had to get some heat emboss in there somewhere. I originally thought about stamping the main big huge floral. That would look gorgeous too, stamping that and embossing it in gold. Oh, fabulous. Anyway, stamped those, covered them with embossing powder, melted that with my heat tool. And then I'm going to use, there's a little coordinating die set for this stamp set, and it just die cuts like the 3 kind of main sentiments from the set. So I use a little coordinating wafer die, and I just taped it into place with some of my little Spellbinders tape. And then I'm just going to die cut that using my little Gemini mini die cutting machine. So I'll run that through, die cut both of these, and then I ended up deciding after to die cut more of like the scraps of black cardstock with that same wafer die, rather than sitting and fiddling with, you know, foam dimensionals, foam squares, whatever. Just die cut more layers with the wafer die and some black cardstock. And then I can just stack those together with craft tacky glue, give them that bit of dimension. And also off camera, I stamped one of the sentiments from that So Much Love set onto just white cardstock scraps and gold heat emboss that so that the front of the cards will say "Love you to pieces." And this, again, this is part of my Valentine series, and yet not a specific like Happy Valentine's Day to my partner, you know what I mean? This will be more open-ended, kind of thank you-ish, but it has the word love, so I include it in my Valentine series. So I want to finish the inside of the card as well. So I pulled out I didn't pull it out. It was sitting on my desk for my last video. The XL Greetings 2, stamp set, another favorite. And this stamp specifically, because I could stamp this on like pretty much every single card I make, because I just love that. So I stamped that on the inside of the cards with that same VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And then to assemble my card fronts, I just started with the gold cardstock, adhered it on one end, and then I can adhere my my stamped card front, and then that little pattern paper strip will just adhere kind of right on the junction between the gold glitter paper and the rest of the card front. So it just, I don't know, there's something about that black and white stripe. It's just such a perfect neutral go-to love. So then I adhered my little companion sentiment and the die cut sentiment. And like a broken record, you could always leave it here, but I'm going to add bling, as is tradition. So I did the same thing with the second card front. And then for my bling, I'm using one of my faves. This is the Studio Claudia gold sparkle crystals. They're just clear crystals with gold glitter embedded in them. Love. One of my all-time faves. I've used these, and I have lost count of how many times I've used these in videos. So sprinkled these kind of throughout both of these card fronts, and then I'm going to adhere these with craft tacky glue. And usually I'm done at this point. You know, adhere my bling, grab a couple envelopes, done. But while I was doing this, I was thinking about it, and I was like, do I want to do gold envelopes? Do I want to do black? You know, trying to figure out what I want to do. And I was like, ooh, what if I do black envelopes and then stamp them? So I pulled out my Memory Misty again. You almost could do the... I don't know if these would fit, 2 of them, in a regular size Misty, since I wanted to do both envelopes at once. But really, honestly, you could do 1 envelope at a time. It's not the end of the world. But I've got my envelopes. I put A2 card fronts inside the envelopes just to give it a flatter, smoother surface to stamp on. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It still won't be perfect in the end, but if you stamped 1 envelope at a time, it'd probably be even better. But I just wanted to see if I could do it. So I lined up the envelopes, and this stamp is ginormous. I love it. So lined that up. Use my little magnets to hold these envelopes down. I'll have to reposition them in a second anyway, because of course the stamp's going to like cling to the envelopes. And then once I've got everything lined up, I'm going to ink up this stamp with Delicata Golden Glitz ink. This is my literal ultimate favorite gold ink pad. I've used this in tons of videos, and I will link to the ink pad and the refill, because I highly recommend getting the refill with the ink pad. Metallic pigment inks, you do need to refill them more often. This is a gorgeous one. And these inks, you either need to give them a good long time to dry or heat set them, because the metallic pigments and pigment inks in general take a long time to dry. So I usually just heat set them with my heat tool, and because I'm impatient, but just FYI. So stamped those onto the envelopes and then off camera heat set those inks, and they were good to go. So those are my black, gold, white, open-ended sort of Valentine cards, aka more of a like love you, thank you sort of a thing, which are some of my favorite cards to make. And as always, I will have links below the video. I will link to my blog post. In my blog post, I'll have the pictures. I'll have picture links to everything, so it's easy to navigate. All that info will be in the description box below the video, as well as links to my social media if you want to check it out. So thank you, as always, so much for watching, for subscribing, thumbs upping, commenting, all the good things. And I will see you guys very soon in the next video. Bye!